listeners and supporters of Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM. Join MsTye for Tea with a Twist. Visit our website at www.hindsightmediaradio.com, where there's always something good to talk about. Hindsighters, welcome to Tea with the Twist on Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM. I am your host, MsTye. Remember to visit our website at www.hindsightmediaradio.com, where there's always something good to talk about. Hindsighters, we are in for a treat tonight. The tea will definitely be whistling through the kettle, so please grab your pen and paper and some hot tea because the twist is real. I bring to you Pastor Orrick Quick and Lady Ashley Quick of God Seekers Church, located at 1208 South Main Street in High Point, North Carolina. Welcome, Pastor Quick and Lady Quick. How are you this evening?
We are doing amazing. How are you doing?
I am super fantastic. Thank you for asking, and I'm so happy and elated to have you guys joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So before we get started, I just wanted to pay respects to the late minister and activist, Martin Luther King Jr. He is one of the greatest leaders that we had, and we want to make sure that we share one of his quotes. I have decided to stick around and to stick with love because hate is too great a burden to bear. Let's have a moment of silence. All right, Hindsighters, we are back. And again, thank you, and joining me is Pastor Orrick Quick and Lady Ashley Quick. So we're going to jump right in. And Ashley and Orrick, if I can call you by first name, is that okay?
Sure.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. All right, super fantastic. Normally here in Tea with the Twist, we often reiterate the importance of being a better one before you can be a better two. So with the two of you, I feel compelled to talk about your journey and the importance of being better individuals prior to the two of you jumping the broom. So if you can kind of share, and one of you can go first, you can kind of share a little bit about who Orrick is, and then a little bit about who Ashley is, and then what that journey was like coming together as one.
All right. Well, Ashley, you want to go first? You want me to go first? Okay, I'll go first. All right. I was trying to be, I was trying to let the lady go first.
Ladies first, right? Ladies first. And hey, loosen up, feel free. This is like, you can just loosen up a little bit and just let the conversation flow. And yeah, so whoever wants to talk, hey, it doesn't have to be programmed. Just be yourselves and have a great time with it. So whoever chooses to go first, go first.
Well, excuse me. My life most definitely has not been a cakewalk. I've experienced a tremendous amount of calamity. I've been through some ups and downs. I've most definitely experienced some lows in my life, from being dead twice, being 2 deadly car accidents, and then experiencing the death of my mother at 15 years old, learning how to walk all over again 3 times in my life. And so with all that being said, when my mother passed away, it most definitely left a void in my life. And I didn't quite understand what I was missing at the time. So I tried to fill it up with things that was ungodly. There were things that I should not have been involved with because I just simply didn't understand what was wrong and how to fill that void. And so when my mother passed away, it was very, very difficult to deal with it because my mother was my best friend. And me and my mom was very, very close. I was the one who, I was the baby of the family. And so I took care of my mom. She was diagnosed with lupus when she was carrying me as a child. And so the doctor even told her, if you have this child, you could die, or either the baby could die, or both of you could die. Or even if the baby lived, the baby would be a vegetable for the rest of his natural life. But my mom stood on the word of God and she believed in the Lord. I'm so grateful for that. But as she grew and as she got older, the lupus took a toll on her body. And so eventually she developed some difficulties with breathing, so she had to get on an oxygen tank. And as the youngest one of the family, I was the only one that knew how to refill her oxygen tank and make sure that my mom was okay. So when she passed away, it most definitely took a toll on me mentally, emotionally, and it most definitely left that void in my life that I was looking for. So when I met my wife, words cannot describe how much I'm grateful to God for him allowing me to find this great woman of God. And so, and if you let me just share my story of how we got together, I'll go ahead and do that for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll let you go there. You go ahead and tell that part. And then I'll go back.
So I am Ashley, and I know definitely myself as well as my husband Orrick were both born and raised in High Point, North Carolina. I am the youngest out of my family. I have two older brothers, and definitely, as my husband stated, he has been through a lot that I couldn't imagine myself going through, especially with the passing of his mother, on top of the traumatic accidents that he was in at the age of 5 and 11. So definitely, before we got to the point of marriage, I learned so much about him in high school, whenever we began to talk as friends, because that's when we first met in high school at Andrews High School. And definitely with everything that he's gone through and he was able to overcome and achieve so many goals, it made me, I would say, become even stronger than I guess what I thought I could ever be. I'm just looking at everything that he's been able to push through and to continue to go day by day, even as a young age at that time. But I know whenever we first met, it was in the 9th grade, and we actually didn't start dating until the 10th grade in high school. And I'll let him go ahead and start that part of the story whenever we actually first started dating in the 10th grade.
Yeah, let me tell this story. Yeah. Let me just put this out here right now. She did not like me.
Oh, wow.
In the 9th grade. She looked at me and just like, ew.
Whatever.
She did not like me. Everyone, I want you to understand this, that no matter what, don't give up. If you reach for the stars, if you go get it, it will eventually become yours. So
all right.
Let me just go and say this. When I first met Ashley, it was, of course, in high school. She was already dating someone else. And I thought to myself, Lord, if you bless me with this one right here, I'll give you all the praise. I'll give you all the glory.
All right.
But I'll never forget, it was during the summer, and it was transitioning from the 9th grade into the 10th grade. And her church came to our church for one particular service. I can't remember exactly what it was. But when I opened up the door, I saw the great big crowd, and for some apparent reason, her face stuck out. I immediately recognized her face. I said, oh my goodness. And I'm telling you, the Lord spoke to me. If I never heard God speak, I heard God speak. He said, move, son, move. And so I said, I don't know what to say. He said, I'll tell you what to say. Just move. All right. I'm telling you, I went up, I sat right directly behind her in the church service. And so I leaned forward right behind her, and I said, there's someone who likes you.
What? Okay.
And so immediately, in high school, that's the first thing that catches your attention, And she said, huh? I said, there's someone who likes you. She said, well, who is it? Mm-hmm. I said, well, I can't tell you that right now. But I'm going to be the middleman. I'm going to hook y'all up. You give me your phone number, and I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to talk to him for him, to you. And, he's a little shy, so he can't really talk to you right now. So just give me your phone number, and I'll talk to him on his behalf. And she said, well, okay. So I got the phone number. I said, oh, Lord, I got the phone number. Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
What I do now.
And so as weeks went on, I'll never forget this particular day. Of course, we went to the same high school. And so that same day, we got on the phone, we were talking. And I told her, I said, well, I want to let you know that he said that he liked what you had on today at school. And she said, oh, really? Okay. So weeks went on, and eventually she said, when am I ever going to meet this person that you're talking about? Well, by that time, I had already, developed a relationship with her. I said, well, that person is actually me. She said, I knew it. And so, the rest is history. We have been married almost 12 years now, and
Yes.
God has blessed us to have 3 beautiful girls,
Yes.
Victoria, Kennedy, and Taylor. And God has just been so good to us. He has allowed us to grow together, and not to become bitter, but become better in our marriage. And that is so important, especially when you go through traumatic incidents in your life. Most of the time, that's what really pumps the brakes on marriages. It's when they go through something that was not on the schedule. When you go through financial struggles, or we went through a house fire together. Just last year, both of my knees snapped on the trampoline, and my beautiful wife did not waver at all. I mean, she just took up the slack. You're talking about taking care of a grown man that can't walk, that can't feed himself, and taking care of 3 little girls all at the same time, making sure that they're taken care of. So if there's anything that I have just realized, is that if you can make it through the storms of life, if you can make it through the storms of your marriage, then you're going to develop a love that is second to none.
Yes.
The love that me and my wife have now, based on the fact that we have gone through the house fire, gone through financial struggles, gone through, health issues, all these different things, has allowed our love to burn even more than it has ever before. So I am so grateful that God allowed us to stay together, to work it out. No matter what came our way, we worked it out. And that is probably the biggest encouragement that I give to a lot of marriages, is that give yourself time. Give yourself time to see the maturity of your prayers. It's just like a seed. When you plant that seed, you're not going to see an apple or orange the next week, or even the next month or the next year. It's going to take some time for it to produce fruit. Absolutely. And so marriage is the same way. And so if you give it time, if you have the necessary tools that's going to help your marriage to grow, then you'll be able to survive anything together.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Ashley, you want to speak to his story on how you guys met? Was that factual?
What are you trying to say, Ty? What are you trying to say?
It was definitely factual. Everything that he said is absolutely true. He is right. At first, I was not.
Just say it.
At first, he was not my type. I'll put it that way. It was a certain type that I was looking for. And as he said, I was already, dating someone at that time. But that did not work out. And of course, we developed our friendship and, got closer and closer. And, as he stated, it was revealed that he was the person that was liking me. And so once we started dating, everything, as he stated, we will be married 12 years, April the 19th. We've been together for a total of 19 years. So, we have been with each other through it all, through the good, the bad, through ups and downs. We have continued to be there with each other, and we'll continue to be there for each other.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, congratulations and happy early anniversary in advance, because that
Thank
speaks
you.
volumes.
Thank
And
you.
absolutely. And so that leads me to the next question, because, and speaking of that, you guys were high school sweethearts,
Right.
and you were young.
Yes.
So it's, oftentimes when young, girls and boys, or, young men and young women get together, there sometimes can lead to divorce, right? But
Right.
you guys have beat all odds. Would you say that your parental units played a major part in how you guys were reared, and what roles did your parental units play in that? I mean, Orrick, I understand you say that your mom passed away when you were 15. However, she did set the tone for you as a young man, correct?
Exactly.
As well as your father. So share with the listeners, how did you guys beat all those odds through everything that you guys went through, and what your parental units, what role did they play in helping you guys be successful today, individually and together within your marriage?
Sure. I know for me, both of my parents, which are Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Bennett, they have been married for over 30 years. So definitely both my parents are tremendous examples, for me to look up to, definitely to understand marriage and to learn, different tools from them, but then also from my husband and I, taking, different examples that we've learned from our parents, with my parents being married over 30 years, but also developing our own tools and principles that we live by, with us joining together, coming from two different worlds, of course, because once you get together in marriage, now you both become one. So making sure that we have everything that will work for us. Definitely, they were huge examples for us, because I know for my parents, they were blessed to be married after only dating about 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
And like I said, they're still married. They're happily married. They're enjoying life. And I know that, with looking to them and seeing, well, if they can do it, I know that we can definitely do it. But not just that, by having God first in our lives, because without God, nothing would work, because we cannot do anything without him. So I know definitely with the parents as an example, but most of all with God being first in our lives, and us depending on him, and with him being within our marriage, that's the only way that we were able to, have a successful marriage, are able to continue to be married, are able to continue to have the love and respect that we have for each other, to honor our vows that we made before God. That's basically how I feel pretty much with it.
Okay. Orrick?
And so I at that age in high school, of course, we didn't have the tools that we have now,
Right.
To make, the relationship work, or especially, and then when we first got married, of course, the first year of marriage is it's just two worlds coming together, like my wife spoke about. And, one of the things that just, number one, I knew that God directed me to, no, well, let me say this. In the 8th grade, this may seem odd, but I prayed for a certain woman to come into my life.
Wow.
And I was very specific in what I wanted and how I wanted her to treat me, how I wanted her to respect me, and how I was going to treat her and show her respect as well. And so when God sent Ashley into my life, it Ashley is a reflection of my prayers. So when I saw Ashley, I saw an answered prayer. And so when God gives you exactly what you ask for, you can't be so willing to give up on it, especially knowing that it came from God. So the word that I must say that we probably just exercise throughout our entire relationship is just simply determination. We were determined to stay together.
Right.
Through high school. High school is chaotic.
Right.
Everyone is trying to break us up. Everyone is trying to, get in our business, and then you got college, where there's a distance between, I went to North Carolina State, she went to UNC Charlotte. And so there's a distance in between. And so, but we were determined to stay together, to, I guess I want to say, uphold the prayers before we started upholding our vows.
Wow, that's deep.
And so I'm just the kind of person where I know God's voice, and when God speaks, I try my best to stay faithful to whatever God spoke to me about. So I'm grateful that God, sent this woman my way.
Wow, that's really good stuff. And I think that speaks volume, and it can teach some people, adults who are maybe struggling right now within their marriages or within their dating scene. And just to know that don't give up no matter what. And you have to know what it is you want. Actually, you talked about having a type at one point in time, but you had a type, but that may have been stagnating you. That may not have been what you needed. That's what you thought you needed. But when you put God in the forefront, you truly realize and your eyes open to what you needed, no matter how Orrick approached you. And he was trying to put forth a representative, acting as if his friend or someone else was looking to have you, when it was him all the time.
Right.
I think that's smooth. So, Orrick, I think people can definitely learn something from that. Say, hey, go after what you want. You may have to inadvertently, back doorway, go in at it and play the part, but, go for what you want. And in the end, but she knew there was no way you get around it. So, women, we have that intuition. And Ashley had that. So she was waiting for you. She was being patient. She just needed you to come out and say it. And you did just that. So, hey, I commend you guys on that. Well, Ashley, I have a question for you, because I did read on one of your Facebook posts, and you made a statement that I would love for you to elaborate on, because I think that women need to understand what it is like to not only be married to a pastor, but also to find themselves. And in that, I quote, you stated, when you and your spouse are not talking, someone still is. What did you quite mean about that?
So basically what I meant about that is pretty much we're all guilty of it. I know my husband and I, like, he stated, and of course how I've stated, how long we've been together through high school. You go through your different arguments and you don't want to talk, and you in the silent treatment. And basically once we got married, of course, some of those past experiences of how we used to deal with things, that came into our marriage as well, where if we get upset, we're holding on to it, or well, I'm not talking, I don't feel like getting over it at this time. So of course now it's silent treatment again. So basically what I meant by that is whenever you're not talking, someone else is talking. It could be a couple of factors that could be talking, because if you're not talking to your spouse, the husband and the wife not speaking whatsoever, while you're not talking, the devil could be talking in one of your ears as well, letting you know, okay, it's not worth it. He or she's not going to change. What's the point? Go ahead and throw in the towel. It's no point to continue to put your energy into something that's not working out, pretty much wanting to get you to give up. So by you not talking, that's leaving room for the enemy to come into the midst of things, when basically when you are talking and communicating and you're on one page, of course, it keeps the negativity out. It keeps other options out of your head. It keeps you from stopping, pondering about plan B. Well, if this doesn't work out with her, then, we can go ahead and get an annulment, or we can go ahead and get divorced. What's the point of wasting my time all these years whenever we can go ahead and get it, shut down today. So basically that's what I meant, is basically not pretty much don't stop the communication, because when you stop talking, someone is still talking, whether if it's the enemy still talking to you, or it could be a case where someone else, whether if it's a male or female that your husband or wife may come in contact with, they may start talking in their ear, and you may start listening to what that particular person is saying versus your everything, being focused on what your husband and spouse should be saying to you. But just keeping that pretty much close-knit and everything together, and just allowing the communication to continue to flow freely with you and your spouse, regardless of the situation that may have happened with the argument. Of course, everyone, you have to allow the person to have their time to get over it. But I will say that with our marriage now, a lot of things that we used to take weeks to get over or days to get over, we can get over things within a few minutes, or I mean, it's nothing like the way that it used to be. Not
Yeah.
saying that we're perfect, because we're nowhere near perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
But we do understand how precious life is. And it's not worth all these hours and weeks and minutes and days and seconds being wasted whenever you can be spending all this precious time with each other, because life is truly short. You never know what could happen from day to day. So that was basically what I meant with that statement in regards to, if you're not talking, someone else is possibly talking.
Oh yeah, I love that when I read that statement and I said, that's great. That's great information to share with the listeners, because they need to hear that. And
Right.
you're 100% correct. When you're not talking, someone else is, no matter what form of fashion it comes in. But communication is key. And you cannot go to bed angry. You cannot leave angry.
Yeah.
It just takes communication.
Right.
Yeah. And Orrick, you want to speak to that as well?
One of the principles that, some people may not take this seriously, but I take it very seriously. One of the principles that I guess I display with my marriage is that no one, and I mean absolutely no one, makes my wife laugh more than I do.
All right.
And that is one of the principles that I have kept with me for many of years, because, if we only understood how so many marriages have been destroyed just from a conversation, or, the person is getting all dolled up just so they can go to work and enjoy the conversation with this other person, this other male or female, or whatever the case may be, and they're not getting that same thing at home.
Right.
And so I have made it a priority in my life that every time I come around my wife, my job is to make her smile. My job is to make her laugh. I remember one time she came home and she told me about this joke that she heard from a coworker, a male coworker at her job. And I said, well, tell me the joke. What's the joke?
All right.
And she told me the joke. I said, I can do better than that.
All right.
So, and I made her laugh even harder than that. So, you got to take care of your wife, your husband, your wife. You got to take care of them. And it shouldn't be that it's like serving time every time you come home.
Right.
Like, taking a long way home. The light is green, sir. Drive. I mean,
roll the boat.
They sit at the light because they don't want to go home. And so it is, we got to understand that in order for us to take our marriage to the next level, a lot of us, how can I say this? We focus on the wedding day instead of the actual marriage.
Come on, someone. That's right.
And so we cross every T, dot every I, loop every L, making sure the photographer is there, making sure that the cake is ready, making sure that the dress is right, making sure that the corsages are on, making sure everything is right. And then once we jump the broom, once we say our vows, it's like we go into relax mode. And it's like, oh, well, I made it. Ain't no sense in me doing it anymore. And that's the worst thing you can do, because it is so deceiving.
Yes.
To first say, okay, I'm going to reveal to you, this is who I am. We're doing all this thing together. We're going to have big plans. And then as soon as we jump this broom, everything that we made promises about has gone out the window. And so that person that you dated is not matching the person who you married.
Oh my.
And so we're in love with them, but we're in love with the past form of them. Does that make sense?
Oh, lots of sense. Absolutely.
So it is important that we continue to grow as an individual. My job as a husband is to continuously grow and constantly see, how can I be a better husband? How can I make her more happy? How can I do more for my kids? Oh, well, and that's a whole nother subject by itself, because you got to have, you have to have time for your children, and you have to have time for your spouse.
Right.
That a lot of people don't know how to separate those two different things. And you have to have time for your children, and you have to make time for your spouse, because I'll never forget when we first had Victoria, our first child, children are so needy. They're just needy. And so they can soak up everything that you have so much that you don't have enough for your spouse. So I had to learn how to always keep some in reserve for my wife. Always. That no matter how much time I spend with my children, I'm always going to have time for my wife.
Wow, that's good stuff. Well, let's take a break from here and pay these bills, and then we'll be right back, Hindsighters, with Pastor Orrick and Lady Ashley Quick.
Does your company look or logo need a facelift? Help is on the way. The Spalding Agency is a brand design firm specializing in art direction, advertising, and marketing communications. They are a proud sponsor of Tea with a Twist. Visit online at spaldingagency.com. Follow at Spalding Agency on Facebook or call 404-487-8632 for all your creative needs. The Spalding Agency.
All right, Hindsighters, welcome back, welcome back. We were just giving some good tea along with some great twists on there. And Orrick and Ashley, I truly, truly thank you guys for joining me this evening. We would definitely keep it going because this is some great conversation and it's some necessary conversation. And I thank you guys for being so transparent with the listeners tonight because they will see that it is what you guys are sharing that may not be easy, but someone has to do it. And you guys are doing a phenomenal job through the thick and thin. You're doing it. So thank you for sharing this. Yes, absolutely. And we'll share if you don't mind, how do you find that balance between making time for your spouse and for the children, which we know, like you stated, Orrick, it definitely can soak up a lot of your time because they oftentimes or majority of the time take precedent over everything else. So share how the two of you, and speak to you as a pastor and Ashley, you as a first lady, because in itself, you guys are still very young. You know, you're not getting any younger, but you're young. And I know with that, how have you dealt with being a man of the cloth and the first lady with your age? How have you guys found balance through all of that?
I guess the easiest way to answer that question is God. When you develop a personal relationship with God, God reminds you of things that you need to get done.
Absolutely.
He reminds you, no, don't talk to your wife like that. Or you need to say, I'm sorry. Or you need to spend some time with her. You all need to go on a date. You all need to do this. You need to do that. And so if it had not been for me being a preacher, being a pastor, I will tell you that I would not be the man who I am today if it wasn't for me preaching the word of God and being in the word of God. Because when you're reading the word of God, it convicts you. And so when you're thinking you're right, God speaks to you and says, no, you need to go get that right. I remember this one time. I went to God in prayer about my wife. Now, this was during the first year of our marriage. And so it was just so rocky. We was arguing all the time. And so it was like a construction house, in a construction site. It's a lot of door slamming and yelling. And so I went to God in prayer. I said, Lord, I don't know what her problem is. I mean,
her problem, huh?
I mean, she's just,
right.
she's just, I don't know what's going on. And God said, well, if you do what you're supposed to do, then she'll do what she's supposed to do. I said, wait a minute.
Wow. Get him, Jesus. Get him, Jesus.
I said, wait a minute. I'm talking about her. We're not talking about me right now. And so he said, Orrick, I want you to understand one thing, that you have the microphone in your hand, but your wife is the amplifier.
Oh, my.
And I said, what are you talking about? He said, if you have a microphone in your hand that is connected to the amplifier, whatever you speak will come out of that amplifier.
Wow.
And he said, the tone, how you say it, what you say is going to come to the amplifier. And the job of an amplifier is to make it louder than what you spoke.
Right.
Repeat that for the listeners one more time. I don't think they caught that T. That's a twist. That was a twist right there. Say that one more time. We have to hear that one more time.
The job of an amplifier is to amplify, to make it louder than what was spoken into the microphone. So if I'm speaking to this microphone with attitude, then I'm going to get attitude amplified back at me. And I guarantee you, I was never going to beat my wife being amplified. So I had a choice. Either I was going to say, I love you too. Oh, you love me? Oh, I got something for you. I love you. So whatever you say is going to be amplified. But if I speak soft and lovely, and if I said, baby, I love you. Oh, baby, you know I love you too. So whatever I speak was being amplified. And that's what God taught me. That's one of the principles that God taught me. Wow. And, and after a couple of weeks, and so I learned from that prayer. So weeks went on, and I went back to God in prayer. I said, God, it's not working. And she's not changing. He says, well, you continue. You keep doing what you're supposed to do. Well, I went to God again. And a couple months later, I said, God, what's going on? He says, I said, Lord, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, Orrick, if you give up now, you risk tearing down everything you have built up to this point.
Oh my.
And so he said, continue. You keep doing what you're supposed to do. And I'm telling you, as I continue to do what God wanted me to do, control myself, control my tone, control my attitude, control my disposition, you know what happened? Eventually, she converted over. Wow. The same way, because women want to see, my wife, she wants to see stability. She wants to see that, is this really you? Or you just putting up a front for a little bit? And so after she saw that this is who I am becoming, this is who I am, then there was no other choice for her to just come on board and do exactly what God was telling her to do, and listen to God, and me listen to the Lord, and doing all these different things. So and that was the other thing that God told me. He said, Orrick, if you get off the track, remember, you're the engine, but your wife is the cargo.
Oh my God.
And so if you get off track, then she's going to get off track. Right. If you yell, she's going to yell. If you get upset, she's going to get upset. So you got to watch your words. You got to watch your tone and how you say certain things.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So the two of you are leading and teaching a workshop, and it's called From Couples to Marriage, Preparing for a Lifetime. Please share how you're carrying this. How did this come about? And then we're going to dive into giving the listeners a taste of your lessons.
I would say it came about definitely with us just seeing kind of locally, nationally, culturally, how so many marriages or, people unfortunately are pretty much getting a divorce, or they're separating, or, they just feel like, it's no point in continuing with the process of it. So at that point, we definitely wanted to provide tools and tips, definitely that we have incorporated into our marriage, along with what my husband has incorporated a lot to many of the marriage counseling sessions that he has done. Because anytime he marries a couple, they are required to go through marriage counseling, premarital counseling. So with what God has given him through the premarital counseling sessions, of course, we have also incorporated those tools into our marriage, and we saw how successful and how things began to turn around, for us as we continued our journey through marriage. And we just definitely wanted to help someone else, because that one particular, moment where someone, could just give up, that's the last straw, I'm out of here. That could have been that moment where they could have been able to hold on just a little bit tighter, just to give the other person a second chance. So we just really wanted to do something to help our community, to help people, different states, nationally, anyone that we could help, just to let them know, that you don't have to give up, give it another try, because, things can get better, and they will continue together. Both of you are willing to continue to work at it and continue to try. So that's, basically how the marriage workshop came about, whenever we, went ahead and decided to go ahead and do it with each other.
Okay. Pastor Quick.
Yes, like my wife stated, every couple that I've married up to this point, I want to say 8 couples. And so it is a requirement for them to go through 3 sessions with me, marriage sessions with me, so that they can develop or at least have the necessary tools that's going to help them in their marriage. If you have the right tools, you can work on anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when you don't have the tools is when you get frustrated and you give up and you don't know what to do. When you take your car to the mechanic, you may be freaking out, but the mechanic is not freaking out because he has all of the tools.
Right.
And so if we have the necessary tools for marriage, then we won't panic. We will understand how to use the necessary tools so that we can grow in this marriage that we have. So if you have what you need, then you'll be successful in your marriage.
Okay, good stuff. Now, one of your points that you touch on in your workshop is the transition from dating to marriage. Share with us a little bit of that.
Okay, sure. So one of the points that I mentioned in that particular section is basically wait for the maturity of your prayers. Like I stated before, I prayed for my wife, but that was back in the 8th grade, and then she finally showed up in the 10th grade. But even then, we were still immature, but I was willing to wait for the maturity of my prayers, so that everything that God promised me, I guess, would show up. And the reason why I prayed specifically was because I didn't want to be deceived by any counterfeits.
Wow, that's deep.
And that is the main reason why we pray. When you pray specifically, you're asking God to show me exactly what I need, exactly where I should go, so I won't be deceived by anything else. Mm-hmm. So when I prayed specifically and I got Ashley, then I had to have enough patience to wait on her growth and to wait on my growth as well. But this is the thing. This is another principle I talked about, this transition from dating to marriage, is after you pray, your prayers then are reversed back onto you. So whatever you prayed for, now you have to prepare for what you prayed for.
So you have to put in the work.
Exactly. So let's just say, this woman, let's just say this woman is looking for a husband. Mm-hmm. She's prayed. She said, Lord, I want this kind of man. I want him to have these type of qualities. I want this and that and the other. Well, as soon as she set up that petition, she set up that prayer to God, guess what's going to happen is those prayers are now going to start working on her to prepare her for this type of man. Because sometimes we can destroy our own prayers because we're not prepared for what we prayed for. So it came to us, but we were not mature enough to handle it.
Right.
We were not on the level where we should have been to maintain it. And so once you pray, then God is going to prepare you for what he's about to give you. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense.
So I'll never forget going into the 10th grade. After I had prayed that prayer, going into the 10th grade, in the 9th grade, I was a little chunky. Brother like donuts. You know what? Hey, I like to eat. Hey, but I knew that in order for me to acquire this level of prayer that I was praying for, and this particular woman, guess what? I had to get myself prepared. I had to prepare myself. So guess what I did? I trained. I lost weight. I trained myself, and I lost a whole bunch of weight. And then when I showed up in the 10th grade, guess what? So that taught me a lesson that you have to prepare even for what you prayed for.
Wow. Now, does that follow right into that more than just a commitment?
Yes. So God has, has shown me that in a lot of times you can be committed, but sometimes your heart is not all the way in it. Does that make sense?
Right.
Oh, wow.
So you can go through the rituals. You can go through the pace of it, but your heart is not in it. There's so many people who are in a marriage who wake up day in, day out, get the kids ready, make breakfast, do everything they do, but their heart is not in it.
That's true.
And so eventually what happens, they begin to grow apart from each other. And then, once the kids leave the home, that was the main thing that was keeping the conversation in the home was the child. And now that the child is gone, there's no conversation. So I want you to be more than just committed. I want you to have love in your commitment.
That's good stuff.
And it is so important to have that.
Ashley, you want to speak to any of those 2 points?
My hubby, he covered it very well with the information that he said. It was worded perfectly. So
yeah. Well, let's put you on the spot. Let's ask you about another point, which was developing. Because you're first lady, we got to let you speak on it too. Because we know Orrick can go all night.
Yeah.
Well, he'll have us shouting on the radio in a minute. They may not can see it, but they'll be able to hear it. Okay. So developing a healthy marriage, I think we did touch on some points about having that patience and also communicating and amplifying. He's the leader, God, man, and everything else falls asunder, right? So Actually, to your point, developing a healthy marriage. In your workshop, what are you teaching others that come to you guys about developing that healthy marriage?
I know one of the examples definitely that I like to provide with, developing a healthy marriage is being there for your spouse. As the vows say, for, better for worse, sickness and in health.
Yeah.
And definitely being there for your spouse. I know with my husband, as he mentioned earlier in the interview, he did have a traumatic trampoline accident that happened back in June of 2018, where we were, celebrating our daughter graduating from kindergarten, just going to have some fun at the trampoline park. But the way that he landed, basically it pretty much snapped both of his knees. So he had to have on both knees at the same time, both legs, a bilateral tendon repair surgery. And basically the part where they had to reattach the tendon, that's where it's the part in your knee where you actually bend it. So therefore, with both legs having to be done at the same time, he had to have on leg braces for about 7 weeks, where he was not even able to bend his legs at all. So for me, definitely, as he mentioned before, with that accident, it was definitely life-changing because, my husband, he's very active. He's very athletic. He's a personal trainer. He was personal training at that time when this accident happened. So to see him, up and moving and, doing everything that he normally does. And then from seeing him now to where he's not even able to bend his legs, where his legs have to stay straight, where, all he can do at this point is just lay in the bed. It was a lot. It was a lot to deal with, but knowing that, that's my husband, and irregardless of what's going on, we're going to continue to pray. We're going to continue to believe God, for his healing, and we're going to continue to take it just day by day. And I know with developing a healthy marriage, that's being there for him physically, mentally and spiritually, because I know for my husband, with him being such an active person as he was, it definitely was hard on him, because seeing me as the wife, which I didn't mind it because that's my husband, and I'm going to do everything that I need to do on my part to nurse him back to health. Of course, I'm not God, but I'm going to do everything in my power to help him be comfortable, to help him, get back to the point of how he was. But I know as a man, it hurt him for him not to be able to help, and do things as he normally would, right, as my husband, as well as the father to our children. Because pretty much at that state, all he could do was either sit in his lift chair or either lay in the bed, because he can't bend. So he can't bend his legs. So I'm having, to help him with everything. I remember nights whenever he would wake up in the middle of the night, and due to the fact that he's not able to move around the bed because his legs are straight, at some point, like the bottom of his ankles where his heel is at, it would start burning, like getting a burning sensation and being very uncomfortable for him. So, sometimes in the middle of the night, he's waking up, he's in pain, but never did I ever dread, oh my gosh, what do you want? What do you need? I never did that, because I love him so much. That's my best friend. And, this is something that we're both going through, even though, he's the one that's injured. The whole family is going through it. And we want to see, him back how he normally was. So it was never a burden on me, being there for him physically, because that's my job. I mean, I guess, that's my part as the wife. I put it that way. And that is the job of a good wife, is to be there for your husband whenever he's not able to do things on his own. And definitely as far as being there mentally, with everything that happened, he did fall into depression. And, I noticed it with him, because I can't imagine myself. I know how devastated I was with everything happening, and it didn't even happen to me, but it was still like it did happen to me, because of course, we're one. But, still it happened to him. So with seeing him, falling into that depression, and, I had, it was tough, because, I didn't want to see him like that, but I knew it was something that I had to do, to bring him out and to let him realize, babe, things could have been worse. It could have been where they couldn't have been able to even do the surgery, or it could have been too bad where things could have been worse, where something else could have been different. Right. But, by letting him know that he's still here and we still have you, that was the most precious gift. And I was so thankful to God that he allowed him to remain here, because not just with the surgery, as a result of the surgery, he also developed 2 blood clots. So he had one in his lung as well as one in his ankle. So, he was battling, with the blood clots, and, on top of the surgery, and, with him feeling the way he was feeling, we were continuing to hear stories, even while he was going through, of people that didn't make it through with them getting a blood clot. And I'm like, babe, that could have been us, but it wasn't us. God spared your life. God allowed us to get back to the hospital in time whenever the clots were developing, so that they could do everything that they needed to do for them to dissolve quicker. So definitely, being there for him, and, uplifting him and encouraging him every moment that I could. That's being there for your husband or your wife, if she may be going through, being there for them mentally and spiritually. But, just being there. And, I would never change anything that happened, with what I did to help him through that entire process. Of course, I pray nothing like that ever happens again. If something, never mind, I'm not gonna say that. I'm just glad that we are where we are. He is doing awesome. He's amazing. He's pretty much doing everything that he did before, walking, bending his legs. So that's a blessing in itself. And, he's active. So I know for me, that's, how, I like to let people know that, it's going to get better, because we were just thinking about how, it was whenever after the injury happened for him, how as a result of the blood clots, it affected the way he was breathing. It affected the way he was talking. And, he was having to take, he wasn't able to talk that long without, getting out of breath, because the way the blood clots had messed with his breathing, with it being in his lungs. And, just thankful for how far he's come from then to where he is now. It's just a blessing altogether. So definitely just giving that example of what we went through last year, and just to not give up, not to just look at it, take it day by day. I guess that's my whole thing. Don't dwell on what's going on now, but continue to look towards the future, because things will definitely get better.
Hey, I'm loving it. I tell you, anyone, if listeners out there, if you're ever in High Point or in the surrounding areas and you need a great church home to go to visit while you're visiting, I mean, if you have never heard anything great before, through the struggle, through the pain, through all of it, through the greatness in the labs and the just the patience and the communication, God's Seekers Church definitely seems to be the place you need to go visit, because this is just great stuff. You guys have been given some great information tonight to lead. If you're going through something right now, I tell you, if this does not make you want to speak through the microphone and amplify what it is you're saying, what Orrick said, then you're crazy. You might need to rethink it, because this is just some good stuff. So I truly thank you guys tonight for the energy that you've brought, your time, and the stories that you've shared. You, like I said, you were transparent, you've opened up, and so many people I think will listen to this, and it will help somebody. And it'll help, I think, when you reach one, you teach one, and it'll just amplify all down. So I truly thank you guys for joining me on tonight.
Welcome.
And is there anything? Yes. Anything else you would like to add? Yes. Anything else you would like to add before we end tonight? Anything you'd like to share on the ending? Go ahead and share where people can contact you at, where they can find you at, and your church address again. If they want to donate, subscribe to whatever you guys are doing, follow you anywhere, please take this time to share that with our listeners.
Okay, so most definitely, you can follow us on Facebook, Orrick Quick on Facebook, Instagram, Orrick R Quick on Instagram as well. God wants me to start a 20-day Facebook Live, I guess I want to say, journey. Periodically, I do this for 30 days. Over the past summer, we did it for 30 days at 4:00 a.m. And you will be amazed as to how many people were so hungry to hear the word of God. And so this year, God has spoken to me, and he said 2020, this year, is reward for the faithful.
Oh, my.
And so if you've been faithful, God said that he is going to reward you for your faithfulness. But then he says, for anyone who has not been faithful, he said, this is the perfect time to jump on the bandwagon. He says, if you exemplify any faithfulness at all, then I will bless you by the end of this year. In other words, get on board and you're still going to get a blessing in the same year. So God has most definitely shown me some things that's going to help us in the year of 2020. So on January, actually this Monday coming, the 20th, we are starting. It is going to start at 5:00 a.m. And the reason why I started so early is because when I come to God, I like to always sacrifice something, whether it's time, money, or effort. So we're going to be sacrificing our sleep just so we can hear a word from God. So for the next 20 days, starting January the 20th, you're going to hear a word from God on Facebook from me, Pastor Orrick Quick, to help you be prepared for the year 2020. Reward for the faithful. So if you want to be a blessing to the ministry, you can most definitely cash app the ministry. It's Orrick Quick Ministry, all together, $, Orrick Quick Ministry.
And spell that out for them.
It is ORRICK QUICK MINITRY Ministry. STRY. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
She got your back.
She got my back. Praise God. Amen. Amen.
Okay, so one more time, so we make sure we get that cash app right for those that want to be a blessing.
So it is Orrick Quick Ministry. It is ORRICK QUICK MINISTRY. Orrick Quick Ministry.
Okay, good stuff. And also, if you'll go ahead and give them, I know I gave it earlier in the message, if you'll give them the name of your church and the address.
Yes, sure. So we're all located at 1208 South Main Street, High Point, North Carolina, 27260. And the name of our ministry is called God Seekers Church. We seek the Lord with all of our heart, because if you seek him early, you shall find him. And then the Bible also says in Matthew 6:33, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
My goodness. Ashley, any last words for you?
I have enjoyed every moment. We definitely thank you for this opportunity. Definitely, I mean, we've enjoyed it. We will come back at any time if you'd have us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a no-brainer. Absolutely.
As my husband has, informed everyone is definitely welcome to come and join and worship us at God Seekers Church. Our services are every Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. We would love to see your faces, and join us at any time for worship.
All right. So Hindsighters, tonight I leave with you two messages. They don't know I'm going to share this because, I have to go research a little bit. So I leave with you two messages. One message from First Lady Ashley Quick. She shared, if you pray for what you're looking for, then you will be able to recognize what you're looking for. That's deep. And then Pastor Orrick Quick, he had a great post, and he stated, never exchange your future expectations for your present situations. So I leave that for you guys tonight. And Ashley and Orrick, again, I thank you guys for joining me, and most definitely I will have you guys again. And Hindsighters,
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to come, just give me a poke and let me know, and I'll take care of you. I promise you. And Hindsighters, thank you for tuning in. And until next week, peace, love, and hot tea. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
You have just listened to Tea with a Twist. Join MsTye with special guests, including you, Mondays at 7 p.m. via www.hindsightmediaradio.com, where there's always something good to talk about.